Hi folks, this is a tribute to Dave of What's Brewing UK, where I brew and taste his Thomas Coopers Irish Stout recipe. I'd wanted to brew it ever since I first saw the videos for it, and now, 6 years later, I finally did. I found his channel in 2016 after I got back into homebrewing, and he became one of my favorite brew tubers. And then later I read he'd passed away a couple years before that. It was really sad to hear that news. So Dave brewed a wide range of beer kits, but all the while he was buying bits of all-grain equipment. In his final video, he said he had everything needed for all grain and enough ingredients for 3 brews, and he was also looking for kegs. His Thomas Coopers Irish Stout isn't a fancy recipe, but it is a great example of a kit brewer thinking outside the box, and I think that's why the videos for it are among my favorites of all time. Here's a look at Dave's recipe. I stayed true to it because if I made changes, it wouldn't be his recipe anymore, quite frankly. My recipe did have some minor differences that I couldn't avoid, though. For one thing, the Thomas Coopers selection range is now called the Thomas Coopers series, and it doesn't have a stout. So I got the next best thing, the Coopers International Series Irish Stout. To do that, I bought a 5-gallon Mr. Beer recipe kit for roughly the same price as a single tin, and then I used the other stuff in the kit in one of my own recipes. Now, a lot of American homebrewers look down on Mr. Beer, but I like them. They're owned by Coopers, and they've got a nice range from kit and kilo to partial mash, and they've got a decent selection of grains and hops and better yeast available too. I guess the only real issue is it can be expensive. Some no-rinse cleanser also came with the kit, but I used liquid PBW instead. The dry PBW is cheaper, so I keep that on hand too for certain things. Mutton's Dark Spray Malt, or dry malt extract. I'm used to seeing it in generic packaging like this here. But when I saw I could get it in Mutton's packaging, like in Dave's videos and so many others, I thought, why not? Just for the novelty of it, really. Crystal brand dark brown sugar, made in the US from sugar beets instead of sugar cane. And I picked that because Dave used a brand called Silver Spoon from the UK, which is also made from sugar beets, but I can't get it here. Beet and cane sugars are the same, chemically speaking, so any good quality dark brown cane sugar would have been just fine in this recipe. Interesting note, the molasses used in brown sugar comes from sugarcane. Sugar beet molasses has a completely different flavor, so it's mainly used in animal feed, yeast production, and other commercial applications. Refiner syrup is a byproduct of the first stage of white sugar production, and the final stage produces molasses. Later on, the molasses and refiner syrup are blended to make black treacle. And speaking of that, was easy to find. I learned a lot about Coopers yeast on this brew. The packets have a special Julian date code and a yeast code. Coopers has multiple strains for ales, for lagers, for wheat beers, and some that blend ale and lager strains. And some of these are in-house strains. My code was R007 an ale yeast. And according to Coopers, these strains are commercially available dry yeasts, and their details are held in confidence. Well, I was surprised to learn this, because if it's a commercial yeast, then why in the world is Coopers keeping that a secret? But on the flip side, it makes perfect sense to keep their in-house strains a secret. Oh, and by the way, Coopers says their home brewing strains are different from the yeast in their commercial beers. Well, if you want to learn more about Coopers yeast, then be sure to check out the links in the description. My plastic fermenters can't handle liquids above 140 Fahrenheit or 60 C, so it takes me about 90 minutes anytime I brew a kit, since I do it on the stovetop with 2 pots and make 2 wurts, just like a normal brew day. And like John Palmer, I call these Wort A and Wort B. And for this one, I dissolved the ingredients for Wort A in the first pot in about 2.5 gallons of water, or 9.5 liters, and brought it to a boil. Then I added the wort chiller and let it go for 15 minutes. While wort A did its thing, I boiled a little over a gallon of water, or about 4.5 liters for wort B in the second pot for 10 minutes, and then lowered the heat and held it just below boiling temperature until I needed it. Summer of 2022 was brutally hot, so my recirculating ice chiller got a good workout. And our groundwater temperatures were still about 75 Fahrenheit or 24 C in September when I brewed this. Details and warnings about using this chilling setup are in my video, Homebrewing Beer, Another Overdue Tasting, and there's a link in the description. When wort A was about to finish boiling, I added the stout kit to the second pot off heat to make wort B, and then added wort B to wort A and chilled the whole lot. The Brewday was smooth, but I thought I was going to have to hook up a blow-off tube during fermentation, and with only 7 grams of Coopers yeast.
Let's see what's going on here. It looks really good. Well, here we go. This is later, the next morning. Just a couple of hours ago, that was just a nice little cap going across. Well, now look at this. It's crazy, I tell you. It's cuckoo. I should point out that Coopers said to pitch the yeast at between 70 and 80 Fahrenheit and to ferment at 70. Well, I'm pretty sure Dave's pitching and fermentation temperatures were above 70 Fahrenheit or 21 C. I pitched the yeast at 69 and fermented at 71. Holy cow. Oh boy. Well, earlier I thought I could relax.
Dave brewed his to 23 liters, but I forgot and only brewed mine to 19, and it's a good thing I did, or else I might have needed the blow-off tube.
This son of a bitch just keeps growing and growing, don't it? Alright, let's see what we got. Oh yeah. It's dropped substantially. Okay, it's time to do the tasting. The What's Brewing UK Irish Stout. Pour this up close to the camera so you can get a good look at it. Nice frothy head. Oh boy, and this beer is black. I mean black. I don't see any color coming through that at all. Maybe just some slight, some slight red hues that you can't see, but I can. Yeah. Quite black. This started at 10:45 and finished at 10:14 for 4% alcohol. The aroma, there's a slight bit of malt. Mostly what I'm getting is the treacle and molasses that's in the brown sugar. Yeah. No weird aromas or anything. I'll go ahead in for a taste. Cheers to you, and especially cheers to Dave from What's Brewing UK. Rest in peace. Oh yeah.
quite good. It's bitter, it's sweet, complex. The molasses and the treacle seem to be working together to create their own sort of spiciness in a way. And, you know, Dave brewed this for his Christmas holiday, and that's what I intend this beer to be, our Christmas holiday beer and winter warmer. At 4% alcohol, that's perfect. You can drink it all day on Christmas. Now, this video won't be out in time for Christmas, but yeah.
So this is going to be our Christmas brew. One of the brews that we're going to drink at Christmas. I'm going to start doing some taste tests as well with my other lagers I've done. So look out for them.
But it's not a traditional Irish stout. Definitely not what you'd expect. And if you don't like treacle and you don't like molasses, you probably won't like this beer. I think it's delicious. It is refreshing. I don't know if I said that already. It's complex in a way. It's clean. There's no ill effects from the Coopers yeast, which again was a commercially available strain, which I'm going to guess is some kind of English ale yeast, probably. I don't know. It reminds me of Nottingham ale yeast. What I can detect out of this does, anyway. You know, I can see why Dave said this.
Happy Christmas. Santa's getting none of that.
So, would I brew this again? Absolutely, 100%. And I would use the same yeast. In fact, I wouldn't change anything. Great recipe. If you like treacle and molasses, and you're okay with that in your beer, you'd probably like this quite a bit. Right. That's all for now. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this. And I want to thank you for watching. Cheers to you, and once again, cheers to Dave. What's Brewing UK? Bye for now.